just so honored and grateful to have her here. So please give her a really, really warm round of applause and a big welcome. It is the amazing Jo Weldon, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Amazing. I can't believe I'm here. So the short version is I had some visa issues, and somehow I ended up with a no-work visa. Now, in case you don't know, having applied for a visa, this makes them more interested in you when you cross the border. And when I went to the BSF office in New York just a few days ago, they said, you better not perform or appear to be performing or have anything on you about performing. I was like, I can make this work somehow. So I got in, but I have no costumes. I was like, well, I can still figure out a way to perform, but I have to tell you that it feels like a little bit of an opportunity because I have been working on my one-woman show for the past few years. And I think everybody should do one at some point. I decided to do mine when I was 61. So, I know, it's crazy. I can't believe I'm still alive after all. Never mind. This year I finally presented my one-woman show called What I Wore to Work. It was originally called Dressed Like a Whore. And it is literally about what I wore to work in 4 decades of sex work. Working as an escort, a dominatrix, a peep show dancer, a porn model. Did I say dominatrix? Yeah. It's worth saying twice. It's really great. And also, of course, a strip joint stripper. Yeah. And a burlesque performer. Yeah. You may or may not consider that sex work. I don't care. You can. I don't care. You don't. I don't care. But it's at least adjacent. So, and I spent the past few years in the New York Public Library doing research on the topic of fashion history and sex work. So that's my research right now, the intersections of sex work, fashion, and culture. And among other things, I found that despite what Dorothy Parker says, you don't need to lead a horticulture. We're already there. Always. So I'm reading all these fashion historians, and they're great. But they always seem really surprised when a sex worker is some part of fashion. Like, we're never not there. It's not an anomaly, it's a through line, okay? And because I did not find anything about my story in any of this, and I kept thinking, how could there be this many people who got through college without stripping? I don't get it. But they really didn't understand how we pick our clothes. How we end up in the clothes that we end up in. And, laws aren't, of course, the laws kept me from bringing my burlesque costumes with me, but I was subject to laws about what I wore to work the entire time that I worked in strip joints, right? When I would travel to perform, to strip in strip joints, every place that I went had different laws about what you could end up in, how far you could go. So in some places I could do like full nude beaver spread, welcome to my world. And in some places I was not allowed to bend over and I had to wear full bottoms. So yeah, it sounds really arbitrary, right? And I'm able to bring you an excerpt of this one-woman show tonight. So I'm going to talk about how these laws affected what I wore to work. Now, when I would travel and I would discover these laws, what I learned is that there are layers of laws that affect strip joints. And of course, sometimes it's just the strip joint owner has weird ideas. It's not really a law, but they tell you it is. But other times, there's this combination of national law, state law, and in the United States, county law, right? So that means that all these people have thought about strippers a lot, have sat in legislative meetings discussing them, and determining whether or not their thong should be an inch wide or it can be a string, right? These are your tax dollars at work. And I had to have different outfits for each type of law. So I had a range of bottoms and tops that I ended up in depending on where I was. And yeah, I still kind of can't believe that I had to have that many pieces for the same costume, but these laws were so pervasive, and a lot of people are like, well, did they actually bother to enforce them? Yes. When I worked in Atlanta in the early 1980s, there were undercover police in the clubs regularly. Regularly. And about the same time, they were also in clubs all over. Like in 1983 in Pinellas County, Florida, a young woman went to court because a policeman came in and said that contrary to local regulations, he could see her vulva through her underwear when she bent over. And she fought back. She took it to court, right? She went to court, and there's a famous photograph of her bending over with her ass toward the judge, and the bailiff and the stenographer are real serious. They're looking at her, and she prevailed. The case was dismissed. So let's hear it for the stripper. It wasn't me, but I did have my own encounters with the police. So one time at a club I worked at, they came in and gave a woman a $3,600 ticket for masturbating on stage, and all she did was a bath show, and at one point she went like this, and she paid the fine. But there's more, just in case you think that's as stupid as it can get. So there was a law where I worked that you could not shave your pubic hair in a manner so as to further expose the inner labia, because we were dancing fully nude. So every now and then, they would surprise us with a police officer, a female police officer, who would take us into the dressing room, and we would have to stand on a chair, and she would have to kneel down before us and shine a flashlight up between our legs and determine whether or not we were fit to work. And if she determined that you were not fit to work, you could be sent home. Usually we just go in the back, pull some hair out of a hairbrush and glue it on, like eyelash glue. But this is the power they had over us. And people always ask me if I found it degrading, if I found these inspections offensive to me in any way. And I have to say that judging by the expression on the officer's face, she's the one who found it degrading. Because having my pussy inspected was what I expected when I took the job. But I don't think that being on pube patrol was what she had in mind when she swore to serve and protect. Yeah, your tax dollars at work. And so I'm not going to be able to do a burlesque number, but that was a little sample of what my one-woman show and my next book are about. It is called What I Wore to Work. If you call it Dressed Like a Whore, I will not be offended. But even though I can't show you my pubic hair right now, I can do a little something